in essence, like boarding school, what I eventually grew to love about it was that it really celebrates all-rounded people. A lot of people have preconceptions about sales. Maybe they see like Wolf of Wall Street and they think of that like shouting and mis-selling people. Maybe they think of financial crisis. Some partnerships are just never worth it. Like if you're pushing that hard, definitely like show energy, show up, persuade. But if you're pushing really hard, maybe just stop to check sometimes and be like, is this my ideal target client? As you've just alluded to, it always comes down to your individual financial habits, and whatever the tech is, whether it's cash or Apple Pay or whatever it is, if you have bad financial habits, I think they will seep through somehow. For me, what excites me about working in tech is being at the frontier of innovation. It's about working with smart people who want to solve real world problems.
Welcome to the Takeoff Experience, where I sit down with highly driven people to talk about their journey, their failures, and their successes. If you want to take off in your career, your business, your finances, or your mindset, then this podcast is for you. Welcome back to the Takeoff Experience. We have a special guest in the building. Mary, how are you doing today?
I'm amazing. How are you doing?
I am good. This is like my second recording this week, so we're doing a back-to-back episode, and I'm ready to go. I'm really looking forward.
Love it.
To this conversation. But yeah, like, tell people, who are you?
So great to be on your podcast. My name is Mary Agbesanwa. I'm super passionate about technology and how it's driving change in the financial services industry. But I would say I'm quite a multi-passionate person. I'm not only passionate about fintech, but also community building, ownership in the Black community, generational wealth, art, theatre, businesses. Yeah, so I'm interested in a range of things, but mostly fintech, community building, and particularly focusing on millennials and Gen Z and how to help them achieve their full potential. I like to do a lot of talks and things related to that as well.
Wow. Where did this interest come from? All of these interests in a lot of things, especially as some would say are quite niche topics. You know, business, I'd say fintech is probably quite niche. Where did that interest come from?
Great question. I think I've just always been interested in money and how it moves around the world, whether it was because I heard my parents talking about the Naira pound exchange rate when they were trying to buy a property when I was younger, or I was just listening to Bloomberg and not really understanding most of what they were saying, or I was reading The Economist at university and trying to understand all the articles I was reading. I've always been fascinated with money and the economy and why there were developing countries and developed countries and how that might shift over time as well. So I think for me, that naturally drew me to study economics and to probably go into financial services and just follow where the money's starting from and being generated. And then I think business has just been something that has evolved from that as well, wanting a sense of ownership for myself and seeing that a lot of the, I guess, not only wealthy people, but people that I admired that had that kind of zeal, that proactivity, that imaginative side to them usually were business owners and entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's crazy. It's always interesting to understand where the interests came from. So you mentioned that you did economics. Why am I saying economics? So we'll touch back on that at some point. But I just wanted to understand, give us a bit of an insight into the day in life of Mary.
So, wow, it really depends. But currently I lead a sales team at a B2B fintech startup called Seccl. And we help people launch investment apps. So when you're thinking about apps that allow people to trade in the stock market, equities, funds, ETFs, we provide the infrastructure technology for companies to do that. So investment apps or propositions or how all the things that you might be investing in through a financial advisor, my company provides that tech. And yeah, it's been a really interesting journey learning a lot about wealth management. Previous to that, I used to be in consulting, but I think a lot of the skills are really similar. So today I spend most of my time speaking to fintech founders looking to launch investment apps or propositions, talking to them about their business, weighing out the pros and cons, what their go-to-market strategy will be, And then otherwise, that looks like a lot of Zoom calls or in-person meetings somewhere in London. That looks like a lot of kind of workshop type sessions with people. It looks like going to a lot of networking events and conferences. So whenever people see me, they're like, oh, where are you going to next? And I'm like, I'm chasing clients, but also just building relationships along the way. And then I usually try and do some of my own side hustle stuff in the evenings, or go to the gym, or relax when I can as well.
Wow, you're busy, aren't you? Like 24/7 busy. How do you get time? How many hours do you sleep? Do you get a lot of sleep in all of this?
No, but I wouldn't advocate for not getting a lot of sleep. Maybe last night I had like 4 or 5.
Is that the lower end, or is that good?
That's average.
Wow.
But I can survive on limited sleep.
Okay.
Like I know my body really well.
Wow.
So I can survive on limited sleep, like Monday to Friday. Then I try and relax at the weekends.
Okay. That's fair. It's important to understand like what your body's like. Yes. I know I can't do 5 hours anymore. I think I'm just getting a bit too old. I can't do that anymore. Yeah. 7 and above is what I need. If anything really? Anything less than that, not that I can't do it, but I'm going to be flagging throughout the day. Yeah, I'm going to be flagging. I'm going to be like, nah. Summer
makes it super easy though, because the sunshine just comes through and you're like, well, I might as well wake up now.
That is true. So, such a very interesting story. But I just wanted to take it back to the beginning. So what drives you and why?
I think I would definitely say I'm probably motivated by autonomy in roles that I guess I'm now a good number of years into my career. So the things that I look for when I'm interviewing or speaking to companies, or even thinking about additional projects to take on, what are the skills I'm going to gain from this? How will this make me a better person? How can this make me a better business owner in the future? And I really like autonomous roles where that can still include like managing people, but definitely that sense of freedom to execute on a goal or various goals, but being left in my own way to get that done, however it might be. And I think that's attracted me to consulting, because consulting is to an extent quite autonomous, and then especially now working in a startup, but it's especially in sales, is very much kind of hit these targets or do these things and we'll leave you to it and you can work out the method to your madness. So I think I would say I'm really driven by kind of a sense of autonomy. I'm quite self-motivated. I don't know if that's the like boarding school or the just like...
Oh, you went boarding school?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what it was that started.
Another person that went to boarding school.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Maybe there's a correlation here.
Yeah, it does make you a bit like military organized, or you go the other way and you just hate structure.
So wait, what boarding school did you go to?
Christ Hospital.
Okay, I don't know where that is. Where's that?
In West Sussex.
Okay, West Sussex. Okay, so down south, basically. Mm-hmm. Okay, and what was that like? And I guess what subjects did you study? Because I'm trying to understand the difference between that and public school, and if you did anything like extracurricular.
I would say in essence, like boarding school, what I eventually grew to love about it was that it really celebrates all-rounded people, and you have to do sport and you have to do music and you have to, like, I was like in band, in choir, playing sports to an okay level, like trying to excel academically as well. Like it's a really, at least my boarding school really focused on being a good all-rounder, if not an excellent one. And it's a very driven like environment where obviously you become very independent very quickly, and also you're very probably quite competitive with the other people that you not only go to school with but live with as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of like discipline that I probably learned at boarding school that I still utilize today. I'm pretty like freakishly organized.
Were you organized before or after? Did it teach you to be organized, you think? I'm trying to understand, like, if it helped, obviously it helped you to grow, but do you think that there was elements of your personality that you were already an organized person, you're already a driven person, or it helped you to become those things?
It's so interesting. I guess I was so young, like I literally went from 11 to 18. So wow. I'm trying to remember what I was like before. But Maybe. I think, to be fair, I was a bit of a nerd in primary school. So my head teacher would probably say that I had some of those traits already. Boarding school probably just like exacerbated it. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. It's so interesting to hear about boarding school, and it sounds like it had a positive effect on you and your career. Mm-hmm. So going back to university, so you studied economics. What was like the first role that you got after university?
So whilst I was at university, I really enjoyed, like, I chose economics because it's both qualitative and quantitative. I love numbers and maths. My mum was literally a maths teacher. But I loved writing essays and stories, and so I wanted a degree that could have both of those things. But studying it very quickly, I realized it's so theoretical. Like, you're talking about theories that are like, imagine a world with two countries and two goods, and you're like, this is not realistic at all. This is not helping me be able to read The Economist. So very quickly I was like, I just want a job. Like, I want to finish this degree and I want to start working. So I was that crazy person that applied to loads of different companies in my first year of uni, did internships, investment banking, loads of different financial services companies, and did my last internship in my first year in consulting at PwC. And I just really liked it. I was in tax consulting and I was like, I don't enjoy this tax stuff, but I was working with like high net worth clients. It was really interesting. I really liked the team-based nature of the work, the collaborative nature of the work. I just really enjoyed how client-facing it was. And I knew this would be a great place for me to start my career. Great company, great brand. And also a really good place that I could learn amongst other young people and more experienced people as well. So then came back the following year to do a full internship. And then in my final year, when I finished, wrapped up, went traveling for a bit, and then came back and joined the graduate scheme. So my first job, full-time job, was in consulting, which was really fun. And again, I had that vision of I want to be a sponge, absorb as much as possible, and think about the skills that I can learn that will make me a great entrepreneur or startup operator one day.
Okay. Wow. So PwC, yeah. Interesting. As a grad scheme, and I personally think is a good first place, because although it's such a big organization, I feel like you get to learn from some very, very intelligent people, some very experienced people, and there's a structure to it as well. And I think when you are in experience, even if you want to be autonomous, sometimes I feel like you need structure in your learning so that you can learn a process, and then maybe you add your own thing to the process, or you change the process. So that's very interesting. And then how do you talk me through, like, from PwC, leaving PwC to where you are now, like how that came about?
I was at PwC for 5 years.
Okay.
And I did some really great work, internal projects, working with a range of different financial services companies, banks, fintechs, insurance companies. And then I started doing kind of similar kind of digital transformation work. And I was like, if I work with one more big bank that is trying to disrupt disrupt their whole internal procedures, like, I just can't. It takes forever. They, like, 50% of the project gets done. It's painful. And I was fortunate to be able to work not only in London, but in Germany, in Frankfurt for a good amount of time, and South Africa, which I absolutely loved.
Wow.
And literally the day I landed from South Africa, I got an email that, can you come and interview to work at a fintech? And I was like, interesting, through PwC. And I was like, okay, interesting. Let's see how it goes. And it was amazing. Like, I got my first kind of experience through this secondment, working at a fintech, understanding what fintech is. Is it all jeans and table tennis tables, or like, how do you actually build a bank from scratch? And it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. And that kind of, I guess, was the first step that made me inquisitive about what does it mean to apply modern age technology to financial services to democratize products and services for people. So from that moment, I just tried to get as startup adjacent and as fintech adjacent as possible within PwC, finished that secondment, came back, and then ran our fintech accelerator for about a year, where I was working with B2B fintech founders, connecting them to people at corporates that wanted to utilize their technology. So again, a lot of skills around project management, partnerships, strategy. And then I knew that PwC was not going to become a fintech. So eventually I had to take the leap. And the company I'm at now, luckily I met them through whilst I was at PwC and just built that relationship, sustained it. And when they said they had a sales position, I was like, oh my God, sales, really? But I really gelled with the team, and I could see the vision of what they were trying to do and felt like it was going to be a great move. And it has been.
Wow. That is, I've got so much follow-up questions. Okay, you said sales, right? You cringed a little bit there. So is it a typical sales role, or is it, and when I say typical, I mean, like, is it like you're just literally, it's just target focus rather than maybe, I don't know, outcome focus? I guess you can describe to me, like, how you feel about it.
It's interesting. I like, a lot of people have preconceptions about sales. Maybe they see like Wolf of Wall Street and they think of that like shouting and mis-selling to people. Maybe they think of financial crisis and then they think of like mortgage-backed security. Like, they just have like all these different perceptions of mis-selling or sales, particularly in financial services. And I guess working in tech sales or fintech sales as I am now, I actually really love it. It's like B2B sales, it's long-term sales, and it's basically being a consultant, but like having a clearer end goal. Like, it's all about understanding your client, understanding their motivations. A lot of it is about building a relationship with someone. People, as you know, like, people will buy things from you because of how you make them feel. So what is the narrative? What is the story you want to tell them? How do you portray the urgency of them to buy this thing? Same way you think about consumers. But what I love about B2B is you're always speaking to people in a company that you just have to work out, like, how do I what makes this person tick, and how do I position this into a way that's favorable to them? I really enjoy it. And actually, I think luckily I'm in a sales role that isn't like gun to your head, like meet this target or else. And actually, for people who are maybe interested in going into the space, those are the kind of questions you should ask. Like, you want to make sure you know what you're getting into, because they can be very different elsewhere. Yeah. It is. I think sales, even at my company, sales is a little bit different. They always say to us, don't force it, which is very interesting. It was the first time I came across a company, and it sounds like your company is very similar. They're thinking more about the long term, which I think is very important, right? You're not just trying to, if it doesn't work I think I see a lot online where it's like constantly trying to convince people when they're just clearly like, look, a bad customer will cause you more pain in the long term, especially if you're doing tech sales and it's about integration and it's about like a long-term partnership. A bad customer, you will be crying that you even agree to it. And I know that from like even the side hustle things that I do, that some partnerships are just never worth it. Like, if you're pushing that hard, definitely like show energy, show up, persuade. But if you're pushing really hard, maybe just stop to check sometimes and be like, is this my ideal target client? Yeah. Very interesting. What about fintech grabs you? Wow. I think as I was saying at the beginning, like, I think I'm really excited about how technology can be used in financial services to drive financial inclusion. I think everyone says a selection of those words nowadays, but essentially what I mean by that is, thinking about modern technology that we have and how it can be used to enable more people to have access to financial products and services. So in the wealth management space, that looks like using the latest technology so that people can have an investing app in their phone, so that if you want to buy one Tesla share, you can open your phone and do that. And actually you can give that to someone, or actually you can hold on to it for the next 10 years and see that appreciate. not saying it will, don't everyone go and buy Tesla, but whatever your, like, just the ability that we can do that today, and that many years ago, especially when we talk about Black people, we didn't even have access to those things. And actually, for me, fintech is about the disintermediation of financial services, saying that you don't have to go through you don't have to go in person somewhere, that you don't have to go through someone who may have discrimination against you. It's about using tech to kind of level the playing field so that everyone has access to the products and services that suit them. And a good example of fintech is literally just like an ATM. Like, before, there used to be like bank tellers who would literally be like, okay, how much money do you want? Oh, you want £200? Let me count £200. How inefficient and how painful for that person. Whereas now what we're talking about is like apps and APIs and open banking, and all of this technology is actually all about transparency, visibility, and giving people access to stuff that's essentially theirs, their data and their money, but just utilizing it better.
Yeah. It is. I think fintech definitely has an important role to play in the UK, especially the UK. Because I'm in technology as well, and sometimes I think, the UK is behind the US in terms of technology as a whole, but fintech, it seems like we're really flourishing. I don't know if it's because of the financial services. We're really good in that aspect. So it is very interesting. But what do you think the future of fintech is going to be? Sorry about that. Something's right there. No, it's all right. Don't worry. I just said it out.
Febreze was like, yes, +1 on that.
You know what? At first, when I first heard that, I never actually knew what that was. And then, I guess it's to
they want to keep this room smelling nice. We appreciate.
We appreciate.
Future of fintech was the question.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No.
So what do you think the future of fintech will be in the UK?
So I think that I'm excited for fintechs to become so intrinsic to what people do, and to meet. There's a phrase that's said by Angela Strange, who's a partner, and Jason Horowitz, a venture capital firm, and she says that every company will be a fintech company. And I'm so excited for fintechs to be embedded, to be seamless, to be at the point of need for people like you and me, everyday consumers. And I think a good example of that is like buy now, pay later. It has its pros and cons, but it's meeting you at the point of need, right? You're about to buy, for me, like I bought a house last year, like you'll buy a really expensive sofa, but you can afford it, but you're just like, let me put it into 4 separate payments and spread it across 4 months. And actually it's meeting you at the point of need, because you're not saying you need to go to your bank and apply for this kind of loan. It's meeting you at the point that you want to buy that sofa. So I'm excited to see more examples of embedded finance across financial services. You could say, why can't I, for instance, like the credit card I use, instead of saving up points as cash, why can't I invest that cash and let it accumulate? Why can't there's so many examples of embedding financial services into our existing habits that could be really exciting. And I'm excited for that as well, whether it's like, could you round up into your investments? Those kind of things that I think will enable more democratization of financial services and more inclusion as well, because sometimes people don't know the terminology of, I want to invest in this fund, but they will know, okay, put this money away and it will accumulate over time if you're willing to not touch it in the next 5 years.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's interesting. There was something that I was thinking literally just before. I think when I started investing like about 5 years ago, and originally it was with one of the, I don't want to say their name, but it was one of the older type of fund managers, let's say. And then I wanted to start investing in the US like about 3 years ago. And then another big fund manager allowed you to do that, but it was so expensive. I was like, it's almost not worth it. And then recently, I guess over the last 2-3 years, you now have these fee-free apps that now allow you to invest in the US. Of course, you've got some like fees, but lower fees than these bigger, larger established ones. And I feel like that's now made people more interested in investing and encourage us to become investors. So I feel like apps like that have, like you said, democratize investing.
Yeah.
Right. You no longer have to go to these big
Stuffy
fund managers and pay expensive fees and not have an app. You can actually do it on your app, put in £1 and then you're investing.
You can do it on your journey home from work. You don't have to go into an office somewhere and feel intimidated by their building or how the people treat you. It's like bringing it again to the point of need and however you want to do it. And definitely you still need to do your research and see where the fees are actually hitting you. But I completely agree.
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. It's so interesting because I never have cash on me. I don't know why anybody does. I don't understand why some businesses still don't take cards, but I never have cash on me ever. I don't see. If
someone asked me to sketch a £10 note, honestly, I can't even remember what they look like. Really, honestly.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like to think that these days where you have your apps on your phone, you can transfer money, you can have your card on your phone.
Yeah.
Why you would even think about still asking for cash? Like you almost don't even need to take your card anymore because you've got contactless. It's accelerated so much, but then there's an advent of where is too far sometimes. With the contactless, I think some of the arguments against it is that it's great, you don't have to have your card, but that encourages too much spending because it's just tap 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 tap. So on that point, where do you see like improvements in the fintech industry?
It's a great question. I think that, as you've just alluded to, it always comes down to your individual financial habits. And whatever the tech is, whether it's cash or Apple Pay or whatever it is, if you have bad financial habits, I think they will seep through somehow, whether you just always spend the money that's in your purse or you'll just be hitting that £100 Apple Pay limit all the time. I think that's why it's really important for people to think about, what are my financial goals, not compared to anyone else, but what am I trying to achieve? And how can I use technology maybe to help me be more disciplined, whether it's having like a standing order that goes into a different bank account so you're always saving money away, or utilizing, I know some people utilize apps like and companies like Monzo to manage their money a bit better because of the transparency and the kind of real-time notifications. But whatever it works for you, make sure you have that kind of system in place, I think is really important. So I'm excited to see fintech go even further to support people to build good financial habits. Like I've always said, like, I love the edtech angle. I would love to see the likes of Monzo et al. Do even more around edtech and informing people about financial services and the products they are getting, and the T's and C's in a more engaging way. And also I'm excited to see fintech become more social. I think generally your financial services have been quite individualized at the moment. It's like, how much do you spend? Here is your bank statement. But imagine if they could be a bit more predictive. They could say, actually, we've noticed that every month you buy these things. Why not set this up as a subscription? And you can click here to do that. Or actually, we've noticed that this is how much you spend on bills, so this much is investable cash. Here, click here to invest immediately in a multi-asset fund. Those kind of things I'm excited for more predictive, intuitive, really starting enabling people to have a relationship with their money, and utilizing technology to do so as well. Plus there are trends like ESG and thinking about how the environment and social governance and basically the climate impacts people and how they want to do their investing or manage how they spend their money as well. So there's loads of really exciting trends, and I think there's definitely room for improvement. And we haven't even spoken about like diversity of the fintech or the tech industry generally as well. Yeah.
Fintech is such an interesting thing, and I think what you mentioned sounds like AI and machine learning will help a lot with the predictive analysis. I know like AI and machine learning is definitely like a buzzword that's gonna be chasing us for like the next 5 to 10 years. I know it's more on the vehicles. Everybody's excited about that, but it's just cars, right? Like, okay, yeah, it'll help the environment, definitely. Like it, I don't think it will become carbon neutral because of it, but I think it would help there. But I think it will definitely have a better impact on personal finance, like you were mentioning. But what was the diversity that you were mentioning? Did you mean from perspective of like founders, people working
I think it's
in those companies, or was it something else?
I think it's all of the above, to be honest. I think that as someone working in the fintech industry now, I think that and I see that diversity is not great. When you bring two not only male dominated but not very diverse industries like tech and financial services together, the baby is not very pretty either. So therefore, it's very rare for me to go to all of these fintech or wealth management events and see many other Black people or many other women. So I'm excited for strides to happen in that space, and I'm really excited for people to come into this space and disrupt and bring new ideas. Because what ends up happening is that if you don't have these people working in these industries, then how can they build businesses in them? So therefore, 3% of venture capital goes to female founders in fintech. You don't even want to hear the stats for Black people. It's literally less than 1%. It's like 0.1.
Yeah.
And that's even probably mostly at the pre-seed, seed, like super early stage startup level. So I think there's so much room for diversity at the kind of business side and startup and innovation. But also, not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. So also the people working in the industry, like I'm excited to see more startups care about getting diverse talent into their offices.
Yeah, it's I've noticed that throughout my career in technology. I've also been in financial services. I'll never say I've been in fintech like you have, because I've been in the old school, the old school finance. But yeah, I've seen that throughout my whole career. Actually, my 8-year career, that is far and few between, which is a bit sad, because it's not that they're not studying finance and they're not studying technology. They're just not finding their way there, which is frustrating at times, right? Because it's so, I feel like if you get in now, you have such a good opportunity to get into something that could definitely revolutionize the way we do things. And I feel like it's at that stage. Technology is always it's only going to improve over time, but I think we're definitely at that point where it's like it's almost taken over the world, really. So on that basis, what would your advice be to somebody if they wanted to break into the fintech industry?
I think first step is just researching, learning more. Fintech is super broad. Like there's wealth management, there's banking, there's insurance. It's so broad. So just read about areas that interest you, sign up to a couple of fintech newsletters, go on Twitter, follow some fintech people. If you're enjoying content like this, then just read and absorb, but also go out there, go to networking events, meet people. I speak so often to people who are in financial services and want to move into fintech, and it's not a complete other world. Like people will appreciate the skills that you have. Many of them will be transferable. And same for tech people trying to move into fintech. Like remove the jargon, you can still do a lot of what we need to get done. So I think there's learning, being inquisitive, and then beyond anything, just building your network and getting out there. One thing that I think actually also drew me to fintech is that people love proactivity and hunger and change, and because you're at the crux of innovation, people love seeing people who are hungry and willing to learn, and startups love that energy.
Yeah. I think that is definitely very sound advice, and I think like anything that you want to do is just about like research and, like you said, networking. It seems to be the most important thing, because all you have to do is just get your foot in the door. Once you get your foot in the door, then I feel like you're able to do it, and you apply yourself and you work hard.
Yeah.
What are your plans? I don't want to, in terms of, but like, what are you thinking in terms of the future? You mentioned that you do a side hustle, actually. Are you able to say what the side hustle is? Yeah.
So multiple different side hustles, but the main things I do is I run a community and business helping women earn more and be more confident. So it's called the Now You're Talking Network. We run networking events, workshops. We have one this Thursday. on actually building passive wealth. So we do a range of kind of personal and career development topics. And I've run that ever since I've started in the corporate world, to be honest. It's been a really good way for me to meet people outside of my day job, do the kind of community building. We started off as a WhatsApp group, and now we have a mailing list of almost 1,000 women. We have like a co-working space where we host events. Super, super fun, and I really enjoy it. And then we do like workshops for startups and companies as well around topics like personal branding, imposter syndrome, and things like that. And then generally just do like public speaking, working with young people, sit on the board of Girl Guiding, which is the charity, like the guides, similar to Scouts, but the girls version.
Okay.
So that's really good. And I get to spend a lot of time thinking about, it's literally the largest UK charity for women. So really interesting working on like their financials and their strategy and the digital transformation journey that they're going on as well. And do some part-time lecturing at Imperial Business School on fintech.
Really?
So it's really great to be able to talk to people about fintech and hear about people's applications and how they're thinking about applying fintech to the outside of financial services as well, because that will be super cool.
Yeah, and I think when you keep your ears to the ground, I feel like you learn more about what people want as well, and how the world has changed, because that's where it comes from, right?
Exactly.
It's not always,
you can be so siloed into like, everyone knows what this is, but actually no. Ask your mum, like, does your mum know what that is? Or ask your niece that's like 10 or something. Like, being, I guess, close to people outside of your bubble is really good as well. Yeah,
it definitely does help you to just think a bit broader, because sometimes the best ideas doesn't always come from the companies, and they're not always the one innovating. Sometimes it's them going back to actually what do people need, what people struggling with, and then we innovate from that. So
agreed.
It's very interesting. Wow, you're so busy. You're so busy. And in terms of like career wise, what's the plan there?
I really love what I'm doing right now. I really enjoy sales. I love doing the things on the side. I'm just always optimizing for continuous learning, improvement. I'd love to run my own fintech one day. Don't know what that looks like right now, but watch this space. Always just passionate about learning, meeting people, and working with startups. I really enjoy that, wherever that might take me. I'm probably I feel like I'm quite restless, so I feel like I could like move country maybe. Watch this space maybe.
You're quite restless, so you might move country.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's cold here sometimes. Apart from when we have apart from when we have a heat wave and it hits 40 degrees,
which doesn't make no sense.
Yeah, it's cold. So I feel like I could be persuaded to go to a warmer climate soon.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. We're planning that. The wife and I are planning that. Yeah, well, it's not happened yet, but the idea is it might come to fruition. And we're thinking as well, hot. I said, if I'm moving, it has to be hot. I'm not moving to another cold country. It doesn't make no sense, right?
Exactly.
Like, why are you gonna move to go to? You might as well live somewhere nice. It's got a beach, nice weather, right? Best standard of living.
Yeah, I'm envisioning it right now. It's amazing.
Yeah. There was something actually I saw on your Twitter. It was something very interesting where you were mentioning about salaries, and I think it was in relation to somebody tweeting that I think they said,
something
was
about...
it 40 to 800k, something ridiculous. And then, guys come to me and you know, get advice and blah blah blah, and you were like, it's not all about the money. Can you talk me through that situation or that tweet? Yeah,
sure. I think I know exactly what tweet you're referring to. I think someone was just talking about, like, they wrote a fake tweet about like, come and work in tech. I just got my first job in tech and I earn 800k. And then she was just like sharing all of the DMs she was getting that people were like, oh my God, how did you get a job straight out of uni? And it's 800k. And she was like, this is so ridiculous. Like, people just don't even know what tech is, but they're chasing money. And I guess I would say, like, the reason why I like quote tweeted that is just like, just stop and think. And like, as you said, tech is going to become mainstream. It is already kind of mostly mainstream. For me, what excites me about working in tech is being at the frontier of innovation. It's about working with smart people who want to solve real world problems. And that's what draws me. Is the money is great, but I mean, that's why it's exciting, because you're innovating, you're building things that don't exist. And you're really taking industries and spinning them on their heads and saying, actually, if I could rebuild this with the tech that exists today, this is how I would do it. And that's what's cool about working in tech. It's not because you want to just add text to your Twitter profile. It's because it's really fun and you get to work with smart people and do so in a way that it's like reinventing the future of work as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's too many things going out there where it's, oh, 6-figure with tech. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you can get that, but you can get 6 figures with a lot of jobs, right? It's not just technology. You can get 6 figures in other industries. And I agree. I think it's about finding what your passion is. Otherwise, you're just going to hate it. No matter if you get the money, you're just going to be like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't feel alive. You have to do something, I feel, that makes you feel alive. And you clearly have that drive and passion for it. And I think you'll make a change. No, it's been such a great conversation today. Wanted to understand, so what do you have planned next? So you said that you've got an event on Thursday. How often do you do the events?
We're doing them monthly at the moment.
Okay.
We'll take a break in August because a girl needs a holiday and sleep. But then we'll be back. And yeah, I'm excited. Enjoy hosting events, attending them, and bringing people together, especially in person now that we can as well.
Yeah. Have you got anything else planned? I know you got August break, September.
Yeah, going on holiday. Personally or professionally?
Professionally and personally. Yeah.
Wow. No, I think so much going on in terms of like, sales and trying to adjust to startup life and make sure I make a big impact there. And then, enjoy the community building, letting the community evolve, listening to our members and seeing what else we can launch. I enjoy the topics we get to talk about for everything's like personal branding, salary negotiation, even just exploring like working in tech, because tech is so broad. It can be like software engineer to product manager to sales to customer success. Like it's so broad. So we have those types of conversations as well. So I look forward to exploring that more. It should be a fun ride. Like if those things are interesting, people should just reach out.
Yeah, definitely reach out to Mary if you are interested in that. I think quite a few of my listeners are obviously they're interested in finance. And by virtue of that, maybe fintech as well. Where can people find you actually if they did want to reach out?
Yes, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Mary Agbesanwa, or I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Millennial Mary A. Millennial Mary A. Just in case I don't want anyone miss that.
I'll put your link. Your in the description as well.
I'm very open to always have conversations with people if you've got a clear ask, and
Great. And do you have any final words for the listeners?
No, I've really enjoyed the conversation. Come and work in tech, and more specifically fintech. And
and make sure you're passionate about it.
Yeah, don't just come with 6 figures.
It's not about the 6 figures, even though that is enticing. Even when you get there, it's just going to be like, what next, right? So you have to really, I think you really have to think about what you want to do and what you want to achieve in life, and what I guess success means to you. For you, it seems like you want to change the world. You want to make a change to society. You want to leave a lasting impact. Would you say that's an accurate description?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start walking around and being like, I want to change the world and scare people.
It sounds cliche, but like that is kind of what you're doing, right? You're enabling.
I mean, I'm not saving lives, but I'm changing.
You never know.
Yeah, true.
We could probably do a study on this stuff, because.
Financial well-being, like literally financial stress is the number one cause of stress for adults in the UK.
People do commit suicide.
I could create some kind of tenuous links to be like, I'm saving lives.
I mean, look. Okay, maybe we're
I should
a bit
also
crazy
get
there.
20% off Nando's or whatever they get.
Yeah. It's crazy. No, it's because it made me think of like years ago, a very sad story of a guy. He committed suicide because of and I'll put a tag actually before I say this situation, and because I think he did some trade and he lost a lot of money, and and a lot of people do over situations like that, and I think a lot of people don't realize that they can get a lot of support with that. I think when you are in the hole that deep, you just think, okay, you owe people, but look, people are not going to want you to die,
especially in this country. This country has like support beyond support for whatever you need. So ask for it and ask some more.
Not that obviously we're encouraging you to write off stuff, of course, if you can afford it, but we're just saying
but if
that
you need it, the
exactly.
support is available.
So it's been great having this conversation with you, Mary. It's been very insightful. Hopefully we can get you in the future when you're a bit less busier. Thanks again to listeners and watchers for listening to this episode of Take Off Experience, and we'll see you next week.